For most products, made in the USA is about pride. For medicine, though, it may be about safety.
After more than a year investigating drug manufacturing overseas, senior investigator Lisa Fletcher found something rare, a company still making generic drugs here in the United States. An outlier as America's reliance on foreign-made drugs continues to grow, along with the risks.
This may be one of the most important factories in America, and most people don't know it exists.
Everything here is quality checked prior to going into production.
Oxford Pharmaceuticals in Birmingham, Alabama. One of the few companies still making generic drugs on U.S. soil.
How important is clean water to a clean finished product?
It's vitally important.
Over the last 2 decades, drug makers chased the cheapest means of production in overseas facilities, largely out of sight for U.S. regulators, with real consequences for quality, failures patients never see until it's too late. Today, more than 90% of the drugs Americans take are generics. 80% are made overseas, half in India.
That's who I compete with every single day.
Oxford Chairman Tom Neely is competing against cheaper drugs made using a completely different rule book.
If you blocked FDA inspectors from entering this facility and you had lizards and birds and cats running around, what would happen?
I would be immediately shut down as a plant, and then I would be probably put in handcuffs.
But in India, that standard doesn't hold. Just last fall, employees locked FDA inspectors out of a facility for 2 hours. Once inside, they found birds' nests, lizards, and cats among pharmaceutical ingredients. Hundreds of FDA inspection reports show companies falsifying drug test results, destroying records, operating in filthy conditions, and making drugs that were useless or even dangerous. Back in Birmingham, Tom Neely takes a different approach.
I'm morally obligated to produce a very effective drug because my neighbors are taking it, my family's taking it, you're taking it, the citizens are taking it.
Dozens of employees here focus only on quality, testing every batch before it leaves the building. A level of scrutiny he says many foreign competitors don't match.
We looked at the list of drugs that your company makes.
Right.
And we found that recently 3 of them, made by Indian facilities, have been recalled in just the past year. In any other universe, with the competition having such tremendous issues with their drugs, you would be the maker of choice.
I would be. It goes back to quality stops at the manufacturer and does not pick back up until it goes to the pharmacy. It's all about price.
Neely says the problem is bigger than manufacturing. It's the supply chain itself, a complex system of middlemen, insurance rules, and pricing pressure that prioritizes cost over quality. And for him, it's personal. His wife has mid-stage Parkinson's disease and relies on generic medications every day.
How much would you like to see her getting her medications from U.S.-based companies?
100%.
And how many of her drugs can you get in the U.S.?
0.
And you're the head of a pharmaceutical company.
I'm the head of a pharmaceutical company.
That's why Tom Neely has taken his fight to Washington.
High-quality generic drugs can and should be manufactured domestically.
Pushing lawmakers to require transparency in drug labeling and to incentivize domestic manufacturing.
We're past the stage of waiting much longer. We've got to take action. We've got to take action now.
So interesting. Lisa, look, economics and personal economics are a big part of this as well. Cheap is what's driving some of these Indian purchases. So can companies like Oxford Pharmaceuticals even compete?
Yeah, they can compete on price. Tom says they actually can do it, but in order for American manufacturers to really take on more of the market, experts and lawmakers that we talk to say several things need to happen. First, pharmacy benefit managers, the middlemen in the drug pricing system, would need a lot greater oversight, with critics saying rebate and formulary practices can distort pricing. FDA user fee programs require generic drug manufacturers to pay application and facility fees that can total hundreds of thousands of dollars. These are costs that some in the industry say discourage domestic production. And then Medicare and Medicaid would need to be directed to use their purchasing power to prioritize U.S.-made generic medicines. That would help American companies scale up production.
All right, let's talk about what is being done. We know the Senate Committee on Aging is working on this, right?
It is. Chairman Scott and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand are pushing legislation. It's called the Clear Labels Act, which would require prescription drug labels to disclose where medicines and their ingredients are manufactured. They see this as a first step toward addressing the generic supply chain problem. Now, I'm going to be sitting down with both senators later this month. We're going to talk about all of this and a lot more in terms of what they want to do moving forward. We're going to have that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and we know you'll press them on that, as you always do. Great work there. Thank you, Lisa. And of course, for our viewers, you can find all of Lisa's prior coverage on concerns with overseas generic drug manufacturing on WJLA.com.